Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
It's not a too long a journey, mate, up the M1 from Nottingham to Leeds, and that is where we are going now.
Andy Martin, our Leeds United correspondent, is in, and we must ask him, how do you feel about following Mark Southerns on Correspondent Week?
It's big shoes to fill in there. I mean, I can't wait to listen to it when it comes out. But
it's all downhill. It's all downhill from here, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to get record numbers for you guys, isn't it? Pretty much. So yeah, it's a hard act to follow.
No, Andy, that'll be you, mate. Surely.
No, not at all.
It's funny. It was a good pod that we recorded with Mark, as you'd expect, but it was very heavily focused around Nottingham Forest more than just FPL in general. And kind of about him, but we did kind of deep dive into Forest, and he obviously goes to Forest quite regularly. Interestingly, I had Forest assets in my draft, as did James. Mark didn't, but because some of them are priced. I don't think I've looked at a Leeds asset since the game launched, and I don't know if many will have done. James, have you had any thoughts around Leeds players?
I've got one in now.
You have, yeah?
Which I won't give the game away yet.
Okay.
I won't give the game away. But Andy, before we talk about current assets, you lost two big players, which does give us a little bit of an unknown for what can come next. Particularly, I kind of want to talk about Kalvin Phillips even more than Raphinha, actually, because, I mean, every time you come on COTC week or a COTC podcast, you'd be like, my God, our record without Phillips is like 20% win ratio without him, for example. How big of a blow is it that he particularly has moved on? Because I think we all knew for most of the season, actually, that it would probably be Raphinha's last season with you. Yeah. How much of a blow is it to lose Kalvin?
It is a huge blow. Even more so than Raphinha. He is, for me, the talisman of the team and a standout player that we just needed to make everything tick in our team. There's a huge hole. When he wasn't playing, there was a massive hole in the midfield with us. And the results spoke for themselves when he was out injured. He protects the back four. His distribution can start the play. So for me, yeah, it's a huge loss. And trying to fill those boots is so tough. But we made a couple of signings in that position, which hopefully won't be too damaging.
And Raphinha?
What a talent. I mean, I wish him well. I'm so happy he went to Barcelona and didn't stay in the Premier League.
So Chelsea he doesn't get to tear you apart, is what you mean, right?
Yeah, I was going to say,
exactly.
Is that for his benefit or your benefit?
It's for my benefit. I mean, I mean, his dream was to play for Barcelona and follow like Ronaldinho and stuff like that. So I'm glad he got his move that he wanted. And I'll be watching with fondness to see him in a Barcelona shirt, which I have done already in friendlies and stuff. So, but he's just going to grow and grow as a player, and he's got the potential to be one of the world's best, in my opinion. And I think we'll see that in the World Cup in Brazil as well.
Who would you say are direct replacements for both of them individually, or are we not looking at direct replacements here?
The interesting thing, something we lacked last season, was just numbers. So when we had injuries, we were calling on kids to play. So to lose those two is massive, but it's helped us get 7 or 8 players in. So in terms of numbers, now that's better for us. And I think, we've got replacements. I think Roca is a good CDM. I really like the way he's performed pre-season. I'd probably say he's the Phillips replacement. But then you've also got Tyler Adams in there as well. And Marsch likes to play 2 number 6s. And I think that works really well with those two. And then I'd probably say Sinsterra is the Raphinha replacement as kind of that flair winger, can be damaging against one-on-one with defenders. So, but yeah, I mean, we've made some good signings, and good that we've made a number of signings rather than just 2 replacements for those two. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad summer.
No, I think it sounds like there'll be more as well. I know it's worth saying Jesse Marsch identified there's another attacking forward wanted. We don't know if that's central or a wide area focused at the moment. And there's a real issue for you, kind of good place to start at left back at the moment.
Oh, yeah,
it feels issue. So obviously Ayling, we presume, is going to miss the start of the season. Dallas is going to be out till Christmas time.
Till after the World Cup, yeah, I think Dallas.
Junior
is out,
Firpo, we now know. Well, I'm not a huge fan of, I must admit. Is going to miss the start of the season. Who's playing left back game week 1, mate?
Yeah, honestly,
is it Strauch?
It's as a left footer, has been Strauch, and Strauch played their last game against Palace. But the only recognised left back is Leif Davis, and I don't think he'll be starting. So it looks like it's going to be Strauch at left back, which is a concern because I don't see him as a good fullback, even though he's all right in the centre. But because he's got left foot, he's going to be put out there unless we sign someone, and that's just if you get a target Leeds now, you look at that left back position and think, yeah, let's concentrate on that area. Because
for the benefit of the listeners who went looking for a Leif Davis price, there isn't one.
No.
If you're thinking, oh, is it a 4.0? No, there's no price. There's no price. So what are we looking at back for opening day? Because the impression I get and what we saw towards the end of last season, which I think might even be enhanced now, Raphinha's leaving, is we're looking towards a more narrow Leeds, I think. And one of the principles of that, as per Jesse Marsch's Red Bull teams, fullbacks really high. Now, on the right-hand side, you've obviously got Kristensen who's come in. Some of his Champions League stats from last year are remarkable. And if you're wondering why he's 5.0, that's the reason why, basically.
Such a shame it's 5.0, though. I think he'd be in my team if it's 4.5.
Well, I think a lot of people would be talking about him if it was 4.5, actually, yes. But it's not going to work at the moment, is it? If you've got Strauch at left back.
No. It's concerning. I mean, I see it as Kristensen is pretty much as that right spot. But then lopsided if you're going to have Strauch in there, along with maybe Koch and Llorente, I would say, as the two starting centre-backs. I mean, I think Cooper's not up to speed again still. Injury issues has hampered him last 2 years as well.
Depth looks an issue defensively, mate.
It does.
Partly because of the injuries, in fairness.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing with Dallas is he can play in. He's someone like James Milner, isn't he? Where he can play right, left, centre mid. So you can play anywhere where he needs to fill in, and he can do that role brilliantly. So missing him is a big miss. Yeah, I think we'll have to sign another defender, and it have to be a left back. So we got cover with Strauch and Cooper at centre back because it's just not going to work otherwise.
But depth is an issue across the board a little bit. But you have money, right? You've made money from Raphinha. You've made money from Kalvin Phillips. You'd expect more bodies to come in before the end of the transfer window. He says with that little asterisk of you might see bodies leave as well. I saw rumours last week of Newcastle sniffing around Jack Harrison at that 25-30 million mark as well. That could be a blow to lose him. I like Jack Harrison a lot.
They're not the only name that's been mentioned with him, by the way.
Yeah.
Spurs have also been rumoured, which would seem like a really strange move, by the way.
Yeah, because of the players that you already have available, James. I don't know if you'd go in for Harrison as well. But as much as you have money now and you're likely to spend that money, you might see some outgoings as well. And this depth issue, which would look a lot better if you didn't have the injuries, but this depth issue isn't that exciting at the start of the season.
I mean, we've spent 100 million roughly, and we've received 100 million. So you'd like to think there is still a bit of money from TV money and stuff that we can go out and get a couple more players in, which is what we need. I mean, we've been linked to Charles de Ketelaere still hanging about.
He's going to go to Milan, I think, isn't he?
Well, that was the thing until like last couple of days where it looks like to have fallen through, and Leeds are still in there. So I don't think it's completely.
He'd be a very exciting signing.
Yeah,
if you do get hold of him, he's very highly rated.
Yeah. So there's still, I still think we might get a couple in, but you'd like to be doing it sooner rather than later.
I want to throw this out because there's a lot of people looking at Leeds' defensive assets at the moment. I mean, it's worth saying, we look at that depth. What week have you got on the bingo card that Llorente gets injured? I mean, because that's so. I mean, it looks thin, and you've got one player there who could easily get injured between now and game week 1. He's made of straw, I think. Your fixture list, Andy, is one of the most exciting ones of you. I feel like you're one of them where you could have had a real bad fixture list, and this might have been a difficult 45-minute podcast or so. But actually, there's people looking. Such as saying there isn't anyone in. At the moment, Andy, I've got your goalkeeper.
As have I as well. I
Okay.
don't know if that's because I just want a Leeds player in there, but in my mind, I'm thinking if I can get one clean sheet out of the first 5 or 6 games with Meslier, that's almost like an 8 or 9 pointer. And then if he scores 2, 3 points in the other games, you kind of almost similar to what I think like Edison can get in the opening game. So yeah, I think it's decent value for 4.5. And you kind of hope and pray that Leeds can find one clean sheet in the opening 4 or 5 games. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking at the moment he's like, I think generally across the season, Sanchez and Raya, on the face of it, if I were to pick for the whole season, I would pick both ahead of Meslier at the moment. I'm looking at going first 2, Wolves at home, Southampton away. Wolves are going to play a different system, but we don't know yet, could even be without Jimenez and have had goal scoring issues. Southampton, as we've already learnt from Matt Samuel, have got an issue going forward at the moment. Chelsea, home, difficult. Brighton away is like your nemesis.
Oh,
but,
Brighton, yeah, terrible.
But they're also capable of having that day where they can't hit the barn door, right? I believe you drew 0-0 there last year, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then Everton, Brentford, Forest. So there's a couple of points where I could wildcard as early as game week 3, and therefore I think he's got the best first 2. And actually, if I end up going earlier towards sort of game week 8, which is quite popular at the moment, to be honest, I think there's 5 good fixtures there out of the 7, and I'm not including Brighton away as one of them.
Yeah, definitely so. The fixtures are there, especially for someone like Meslier, who's going to get save points as well. And it's not good. It's fixtures where, like Wolves, for example, they're not going to come and get 3 or 4 goals, and Meslier's going to get 0 points. You'd expect them to maybe get 1, 2, but then Meslier can still get you 2 or 3 points. So that for me is why I'm leaning towards Meslier, because I think those fixtures can be points. If he doesn't get a clean sheet, it can still be 3 points.
Yeah, just letting those corresponding first 6 you had. Obviously, Forest is 7th. There's only 1 clean sheet from the corresponding 6 from last season's fixture. But actually, that was the Brighton away game. So there's scope for improvement across them fixtures as well. I think, like you, Kristensen would have been a real consideration if he'd been 4.5. I think he'd be quite highly talked of. It's just difficult to look at him when you've got Cash, Trippier, Zinchenko, possibly Doherty if he's going to start at Tottenham, similar prices, until we know more about him. But he looks a super talent, doesn't he?
Oh, brilliant talent. I've watched some clips from Salzburg, like you say, in Champions League and stuff, and he gets forward so much, but also defensively, he's everything you want as well. So I think it's a really shrewd signing, that, and I'm really excited to have him in our squad.
Yeah, he's one to watch. As we said, it will narrow up the pitch and he will fly forward and will go all the way in behind, actually. Suj, any of this convinced you to look at Leeds defensively?
Yeah. Not defensively, but Meslier, I mean, he's defensive. I understand that, but I wouldn't pick any of the 4.5 defenders over Meslier as an option. And actually, I was looking at it. I can see 2 or 3 clean sheets there. I think Wolves at home is definitely a good opportunity for a clean sheet. Everton at home, Forest at home, 3 of those in the first 7. I can see 3 clean sheets there. So that's not too bad. James, you mentioned a game week 8 wild card, which is when you play United away. But even after that, you've got Villa at home, Palace away. If you ended up sticking with him through till game week 10, I don't think it's such a bad shout. So in answer, James, like if I was looking at the 4.5s, if Meslier is definitely a consideration, and the other fallback is early wildcard, you can bin it if you want to. And there's other options to go to. I think Henderson is decent, Ray is decent. So yeah, I think it's, if you want to be a bit different, go for it. I'm interested. Let me just click on the little eye. 3.2% ownership at the moment. So he's going to be pretty low in amongst the goalkeepers.
Yeah, I think the good thing is as well, if you look at it, if we do get a clean sheet out of Meslier and the defenders, Meslier is going to rack up the bonus points, because I don't think the defenders offer too much in terms of
I think you're right,
the baseline bonus and stuff. So Meslier gets 3 saves and you get a clean sheet, you're kind of looking at a 10-pointer.
I do worry about the implosions that you get sometimes from Leeds, though, like 4s, 5s, 6s, and on your day a team will really roll you over.
I think that's gone.
Maybe Jesse Marsch will tighten it up a little bit more, and we won't see that this season.
Yeah, I think with the fact that Marsch is in there with two number sixes, it's going to be it's a lot different to what people are expecting to see from Leeds. I think defensively will be stronger. Attacking wise, will probably not create as much either. So I think from the fan, I think we just see tight games. Personally,
Yeah, it's interesting in that in the interest of fairness, no Premier League team, including the three that went down, conceded more goals in 2022 than Leeds. But there was certainly a change with the change of manager.
Yeah.
Not necessarily completely for the good. We know Bielsa was incredible, but defensively better, no?
Defensively a lot better. I mean, we conceded all those goals in the early part of 2022 when we had played you guys, and was it 5 or 6, and Liverpool 6
4
or
against
something?
us.
Yeah.
It's 19 goals conceded in 12 under Jesse Marsch. So you're looking at basically 1.5 per game. Compare that with your 2022, 43 conceded in 20. He's obviously more than 2 a game. So, okay, 12 games, quite a small sample size, but we're dragging it down.
Yeah, but like you say, with the fixture wise, so when you say it's 19 from 12, yeah, I think the big guys, the big clubs, are going to score heavily against us still, but we haven't got those fixtures, particularly in the early stages. So I think we conceded, what was it, 3? The 2 at Arsenal, 3 against Chelsea, 4 against Man City since Marsch is there. So I think a lot of the heavy scores have come against the big clubs and against
That's
them.
fair. Therefore, in the other games, you're conceded 10 in 9.
Okay.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah.
Certainly is. The more the concern will be, obviously, in Marsch's games so far, 13 goals scored in 12.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is Bamford ready, mate?
Nope. I don't think he is. I don't think he is. I think he looked okay, 45 minutes the other day. Still rusty. Still not up to speed in my eyes. I think he needs still time. Whether he starts at the start of the season, I'm still not sure. A lot has to change in 10 days before he gets up to speed in my eyes.
I can't remember what his ownership would have been this time last year, but I'm pretty sure that if he'd have had a year of good competitive football like his first year in the Premier League with them fixtures, he'd be very popular. He's not in anybody's team, is he?
Again, I think it's another overprice. I don't know, because of the injury issues he had last season, 7.5 just seems so high. There's an argument for him to be 6.5.
That's historical based on the previous season of 194 points. You know, if you can get the full season out of him, we're talking about a player there who 2 seasons ago, when everybody went into that season thinking he can't hit a barn door, nearly 200 points. And that's why 557 minutes last season. So his historical data in FPL in a lead shirt is good. That's why I think his price has stayed high. Admittedly, a lot of the forwards, Bamford, Calvert-Lewin, hardly seen last year. It feels like their price is held because of historical reasons when it's difficult. You compare Bamford and Trent at the same price. We can't really do that. But I think that's why it stayed at 7.5, Andy.
Yeah. He can't repeat the numbers he was getting because Bielsa's not there.
He also hasn't got Raphinha as well.
Yeah, it was all about attack with Bielsa and creating chances for Bamford. That's not going to be the same.
I just pulled the old calculator out because I was interested in his 28 points from 557 minutes last season. And obviously a lot of those minutes would have come off the bench as well when he was coming back from injury.
Yeah, not one-pointers.
Times it by 6, let's say, which is 3,000 minutes that he's going to play, you're still talking about 6 times 30, 170, 180 point season from him, which is decent if he gets the minutes. I think that would his return, even in his short stint last year, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 attacking returns in what is essentially like 6-7 games. It's not bad. You just want the confidence that he's going to be fit. I think with Jesus priced at $500,000 more, though, there's such an easy alternative there.
I think Andy's already answered it as well by saying he doesn't think he is going to be fit.
Yeah, that's the biggest concern. But put it this way, if I had the choice of Bamford or Calvert-Lewin, I'd go Bamford right now, though.
Yeah, but
that's
would
basically the choice between shit and shite, isn't it? Really?
But right now, you couldn't probably go Bamford over Wilson or Watkins if you're looking for that real short term.
Yeah, no way.
You couldn't.
No.
Are you concerned offensively, Andy?
I am concerned. Yeah, really concerned. I think we can get the ball because I mean, Marsch is obviously direct manager who likes to get the ball forward as quickly as possible and keep it centrally. But
Let's put him in our dead team, James. Bamford. Go on.
Yeah,
I really feel like he's a good asset that if we leave him in a zombie team all season and he gets the minutes, he'll be 160.
If he gets he ain't a bloody good asset if he gets 557 minutes, is he?
I don't know.
No, Bamford's not going in a zombie team,
Go on.
No, he's not.
I think the exciting thing is Gelhart, and Marsch really likes him. He's shown in pre-season again that he is direct, likes to shoot on sight, and I think that's what we need as a forward. Bamford on his own in this system, I don't think works as well as it would with Gelhart. And I think Bamford and Gelhart together as a two might work better.
So what are we looking at stylistically? I feel like we're looking at one of two formations, both for four at the back, 4-2-3-1, or possibly, as we also saw right at the start, 4-2-2-2.
Yeah. That's
the one with the two up front. Are we looking at that? If everyone's fit, would the two up front be Bamford and Gelhart?
Yes, I believe so.
Who is it with one? If Bamford's fit, is he still first choice?
I think it still would be Bamford if he is fit. But I think the start of the season is going to be Gelhart, to be honest. Bamford coming on and getting minutes.
Well, that 5.5 million forward slot is a bit of a pain in the rear for a lot of people at the moment, where they've landed on it and gone, I want one. Is Undev going to start? Is Breuer going to get a move? How long do you think that lasts for? Because I know there's a feeling from some Leeds fans that once he really nails it down, he'll be difficult to get out of the team. Is that how you foresee it?
I do. I think Gelhart's capable. He's a goal scorer. He's a fox in the box, hassle for defenders, hard to defend against, and shoots on sight. A selfish player as well. So if Gelhart gets a good run with good minutes, I think he's most likely to score because of the amount of chances that he'll try and just shoot on sight, and eventually those shots will go in.
Is he, in your opinion, the best 5.5 million forward?
Yes, I would say he is.
Do you want to check back?
He's got a new contract as well.
Okay,
that's going to be coming this week, I believe.
You're going to be one of them where people come back. Andy said, mind you, you're the guy, aren't you, to throw shit at the dartboard, right? Something's going to stick. So
I mean, even if he doesn't start at 5.5, he's still going to be the first man to come off the bench, in my opinion. Even if he doesn't start, you're still going to get 35 minutes out of him every game.
Why the conversation? So 5.5 forwards. We've got Gelhart, Breuer, we've mentioned, Adam Armstrong at Southampton. I don't think we'd be interested in. And you've got all three Palace forwards, Edouard, Mateta, and Benteke. I've heard Benteke mentioned with Wolves, actually, as a possible move. None of them stand out. Breuer would be the one, I think. If you knew Breuer was going back to Southampton, going to start, as much as he's frustrating, it's probably the one. Because unfortunately...
Has the West Ham thing died down with Breuer?
Yeah,
we think Scamacca's going. So
Scamacca.
Okay. Right.
I don't think we're going to spend that money on two strikers like that. Interestingly, with the Palace boys, though, James, like again, they're at risk of rotation, but I still think Edouard and Mateta between them will get more minutes than Gelhart, even though they'll get rotated, and I still think they'll outscore Gelhart.
That's not necessarily what
over the course
said.
of the season.
And if I said to you, Andy, let's just say Bamford had a setback, really unfortunately, and he was ruled out till October or something. Do you think the club would go and buy, or would they be happy just to go with Gelhart? Because this has to be a consideration as well. When we're thinking about buying Gelhart, I said it at the top, Marsch has said you want to buy another forward before this window closes. And we don't know if that's a wide forward or a central forward. But it could be that even Gelhart does start game week 1. There's doubts about Bamford. And by game week 2, he might be third choice. That's how it feels right now.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say Gelhart's the best option if we go and sign out another striker, because I think that striker as a new signing would come in. But if we don't get a central striker, Gelhart for me is the best 5.5 in the game.
Well, the other 5.5 that we haven't mentioned, who seemed to be absolute flavour of the month when the game opened, was Undev at Brighton. Would you not think that he might be a better consideration?
You got Welbeck and
Weatherill's whether he'll start, isn't it?
There was talks of Mopé getting a transfer request was in, not a transfer request
I
from him,
think
bid was in for him, wasn't it?
We've
Was
got
Roma?
the Salernitana who are bidding for Mopé.
If Mopé was to move on, you suddenly think, you know what, Undev at 5.5 might.
I think when Sam comes on Friday for the Brighton pod, I think he'll say that at the moment Welbeck's going to start. I think. Yeah, I mean, the other 5.5s, I mean, Keenan Davis is not going to get a look in at Villa. Kiefer Moore at Bournemouth's only going to get a look in if Solanke gets injured. Same with Muniz at Fulham. It'd only be if Mitrovic gets injured. So, yeah, difficult.
It's a difficult price point, a 5.5 forward. It's almost like it's so awkward. You just want to go 4.5 and leave it on the bench.
Yeah,
it does feel that. If I said to you, Andy, you've got to start with one Leeds attacking player, who would it most likely be?
It would be Aaronson, because I believe he's the focal central point in our attack.
What do we know? What do we know about him?
He likes to play on the front foot. He will drive forward rather than play it safe. I think he's good on the ball. He's a good runner. He's young. The downside of him probably doesn't get enough attacking output in terms of goals and assists previously. But it depends now if he's getting regular minutes, regular starts for Leeds. If he is the focal man in this number 10 position, then maybe Marsch can get something out of him. But 5.5, I think, is reasonable for number 10.
He's at that Neto value where people are struggling a little bit to find alternatives at the moment. He might be one. I think he's a different call. What I found in my research of him was technically maybe not the best. Off the ball, really good. But it depending on where I read, it was mixed reviews in terms of what he'll do defensively for Leeds in terms of the press will be really good. Other parts I read was he might arrive in the box at the same time, and a little bit of a comparison to actually what we expected from Matthias Klick when you came up, where actually he was originally that, and I know he's kind of come down the pecking order now and stuff, and that's probably a bit of a naughty comparison, Klick, and because if people say Klick, well, he hasn't done anything so much, but he could be a goal scoring midfielder. He really might take on the burden for you, it feels.
That's what I do feel as well. I think he'll be closer to goal than what Klick was ever doing in the Premier League. Klick was basically a central mid. I think Aaronson in our system will be that number 10 spot. But even he is flexible to play right and left as well. So that's another good thing, that if he needs to play right wing, left wing, I think he can go there. He's a good player, both feet, runs with it well from what I've seen. Good on the half turn. Yeah, I think he's decent enough.
In your team at the moment?
Not at the moment.
Andy gave it a big build-up 7 days ago.
No, I did. I've been a Neto fanboy for a couple of years. I think he glides across the pitch. I love watching Neto, and if Neto's playing as proper forward rather than as a midfielder, which I think with him and his injury, I think we can see Neto leading the line. That appeals to me more, I think.
I'm not sure it would, actually. I get the impression that if Jimenez is out and we haven't got the info at time recording, we should say we're pre-recording Monday, it might be Podence from what I've read, who's the same price as well, actually. And I think we've all made that mistake in the past with Daniel Podence, whereas Neto, yeah, I get it. But he's also playing you game week 1. Is that what appeals?
I mean, who's going to be on that right side against our left back? That's where you want it, probably. Podence?
I guess it depends a lot on Jimenez's fitness.
Yes.
Like probably yes, if Jimenez is fit. Otherwise, they might switch it around. I guess Gibbs White, if he assuming he stays, could play that role. Obviously, Neto is right. Neto right or left, really. I think you want him to be able to go and attack people exactly like that. I would be tempted if I was Wolves to go, yeah, stick Neto against Strout game week 1. But
that'd be scary. Yeah, that'd be scary.
Not scary as if it was Raphinha though, right? Talk to us about then the Phillips replacements. Who is the replacement? Is it Adams or is it Roca? Or is it both?
I would say it's both. I mean, Roca's got good distribution in him, but also a bit of a brute. I think if you're looking to place a bet on someone who's going to be first to 5 yellow cards, I think either Roca or Lerma will be the guy.
That's really interesting because watching clips of Roca, and I only did it on YouTube, there was a little bit of Granit Xhaka about him, I thought.
Mm.
Actually, technically, I hadn't seen him make any tackles in that video. That's interesting that you say that, because Xhaka certainly likes the yellow, doesn't he?
Yeah, I thought he's great at intercepting. I think but his distribution is the key for that. So I think it's the replacement for distribution. Where Adams is kind of the buzzing about short, sharp passes. Still a good player. I really like both, and I think both are really good signings. So defensively, the fact we got both of them in protecting the back four, I think it's decent. That's the key to signings for me.
You expect them two to be first choice together, I take it.
Yeah, I would.
Because we are looking at two playing essentially together now, rather than there's obviously times you just left Phillips to get on with it in the past.
Yeah, I think both are a step up from Forshaw, Click. I think it's those two pretty much. Yeah, I know Cock can play there, Stroke can play there, but I think
it's been a mess over the last 12 months. Mate,
it has. When Phillips has been out, we've been trying too much to change it about too much, and nothing's ever settled there. So, Roca, it'd be good to have Roca and Adams.
Yeah. Well, my guess would be that they will both start in game week 1, and I think it might be a good pairing. I saw bits of your game against Villa, and Adams really gets around the pitch, doesn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he likes.
The signings we made. I mean, a lot of them are from Red Bull teams, and I mean Salzburg and Leipzig and stuff. So
does that concern you?
And
I'm not relating that in terms of the brand Red Bull. I'm relating that in terms of the manager's going for what he knows. There's positives and negatives of that, I think.
I don't think it concerns me too much. No, I wouldn't say that. I think
it'd be a positive.
It should be, because listen, the manager obviously knows the traits of these players, but doesn't know the traits of those players in the Premier League.
No, you'd have connections at those clubs so that you can tap up and say, look, tell me a little bit more about how you think he'll adapt. I think having more information is got to be better than having less information. If he's got more information about these players and he understands a little bit better, then that's got to be a good thing. And I think he's the kind of manager that he knows what he wants to achieve. Like, he's very systematic and structured, and I think that will only help. A lot of these players will be really unknown to a lot of kind of, what you call them, casual FPL managers, or even football fans who don't really follow European football as much. And I think that gives Leeds a little bit more of the surprise factor as well, which you had the first season you came up. Obviously, once everyone's played you once and they figured it out, it's a bit harder. But I think that surprise factor of having players that people don't know as well is also going to be beneficial.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good that they're the age they are as well, the players we've signed. I think this is still developing players, which I think Marsch will like to do.
Is it time for that? I mean, who's your captain now?
Still Cooper, if he's around.
But he's not first choice anymore, right? In your opinion,
just because injured. I mean, the central defence, I think, is hard to say who is.
Ayling not captain, or am I being stupid here?
Ayling's had the armband on, but I don't think he's captain now.
But he's also probably unavailable game week 1.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I think Ayling's back for probably a month into the season. So, if it wasn't Cooper, it'd be hard to say, actually.
Get your bets on. Who's captain for Leeds game week 1?
Yeah.
It's going to be Jossie, isn't it?
Yeah, why not? Just put it on him, yeah.
How do we see the wide positions for game week 1? It's worth saying, I'd not realised, Andy pointed out to me before we started, obviously Daniel James is suspended for game week 1, the hanging over of that awful red card against Chelsea. So what do we think in terms of wide positions? Let's work on it. Might be a 4-2-3-1. If we work on that basis, who would be the 2 wide players in your opinion, Andy, game week 1?
I mean, the fact that James is suspended and maybe Sinistera, he came off with a knock. If he's not ready, which is going to be touch and go, I think it's precautionary, but maybe he might need a game or 2 still to recover. So I'd say if Sinistera is fit, it would be him on the right, Aaronson middle, Harrison left. If it's a 4-2-3-1. If it's not, I would say Rodrigo comes in and maybe Aaronson goes to the right. Yeah.
Where does he fit in, Rodrigo? Presumably we're talking about Gelhart potentially being number 9. Can Rodrigo not be it?
He's not impressed really recently. I don't think he's favoured by Marsch at all. He's a decent enough bench option as people like Click and Forshaw are perhaps, and it's good that we've got the numbers there. But as a first choice, I don't think he's been up to it in terms of moving the ball quickly. He's not got much pace himself anyway. I think he's been a bit off it recently.
If we saw something over the next week or so that made us think that Rodrigo was going to start the first couple as the number 9, should we not consider that short-term 6 million midfielder? With the first two, Wolves and Southampton.
I don't see how he would be that number 9 in this system, though, particularly. Because he likes to drop off anyway.
But he can play it, can't he?
Yeah, he can play it. He can play it.
I mean, this time last year, I certainly said to you that I thought it would potentially get to the stage where he pushed Bamford properly for the position. And then when obviously Bamford got injured, Rodrigo didn't push on. Because he'd finished the previous season really well.
Yeah, he did. He did finish the end of that season well. Yeah. I was impressed last summer. I was saying Rodrigo should start now and push on, but I don't think he's pushed on.
You described it well, squad player. It just feels like he's one that you can chuck in when you
should be. He's full Spain national, right? So he should have. We're going into year 3 now. Should have nailed down a place in this team, really, especially considering all the injury problems you had last year. And it never felt like he did.
No, he didn't. He didn't. He was 30 million, which is crazy, I think, for someone that age as well.
Talk about Sam Greenwood if you can, Andy, because he's one of the 4.5 options. I think he's currently, I want to say, the 3rd most owned forward in the game.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Is this right? Is he the obvious 4.5 forward? Or I'm looking at it with everyone fit and going, well, yep, Bamford, Gelhart, Rodrigo can play there. How many minutes is he realistically going to get? Is it not a little bit, he got those 230 odd minutes last season because of the injury crisis?
Exactly right. And I think that's what happened. And people are sorting by 4.5. Who got the most points last season? Oh, it's Sam Greenwood. Let's put him in because maybe he gets some more points. But again, it's going to be cameos. I don't see anything particularly more than that. If we need a goal and we need to go like 3 up front, chuck everything forward, yeah, get Greenwood on perhaps. He's a decent enough player. I quite like him. I'd prefer him to be up there more than Rodrigo, to be honest, because I think he's got something about him as well. But perhaps even he goes on loan. I mean, we've had a couple of players go to Millwall of all places, which is crazy.
Oh, you two love each other. Stop pretending.
No, why Millwall? Yeah, ridiculous. But yeah, Greenwood, I wouldn't mind if he went out, especially if we sign another striker.
So you think he could even go out on loan anyway then?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Invariably, a lot of these 4.5 forwards do. It's part why they're that price in the first instance. I don't think he's the best 4.5 option up front. Go on, Suj.
Yeah, I was going to say, you talked about Delap, if he moves, becoming an option at 4.5 or Archer. And the problem with these these 4.5 is almost, if you're going to go cheap rather than go with a 5.5 like Gelhart, just go all the way down and drop it to 4.5, which is what makes the strikers that are kind of 5.5 unattractive. Is just, if you're going to go cheap, just cheap it out all the way. And that's why I can't look at Gelhart. I'd rather just go cheap at 4.5.
Yeah, I think Low Taylor at Forest, Cameron Archer at Villa.
I think I'm with
for me more than Greenwood.
Yeah, I think I'm there with Suj as well. I mean, I'd like to put Gelhart in. I don't want to go into game week 1 thinking like fingers crossed, hopefully Gelhart starts, because I think at 5.5 you need him to start, and I don't think you can take the gamble particularly.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. You need that 5.5 forward to start in most cases at the moment. I think there's probably a manoeuvre way round where maybe if you're going a 4.0 defender, 2 4.5 million mids and a 5.5 forward, I've looked at that and rotating it. So perhaps I'd have to start with Nico Williams, for example, and then when Broyer's available somewhere, fine, he's there ready. But I think if you go with Gelhart, you're picking him because you really hope he's going to start game week 1. And I don't think right now we've got any clarity to have real confidence in that. I probably agree with you, Andy, that I think if Bamford was to be ruled out, then I think probably he does start. But I think it's probably also a problem waiting to happen for people.
Yeah, we got one more pre-season. Be interesting to see whether this will be kind of our game week 1 lineup on the weekend.
So I take it as of now, you'd be what? Meslier, Kristensen, Struijk left back, Llorente and Koch at centre back, Adams and Roca in midfield, Aaronson, Rodrigo, Harrison, and possibly Gelhart.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you can let us know at the weekend if your opinion changes, and I'll talk about it next Monday for you.
All right, I'll message you. Yeah, no worries.
I think attacking players not under consideration for me for Leeds at the moment. I think there is also, despite the fixtures, real concern that the goals might be drying up. And have you flipped too far the other way in terms of your creativity? You're definitely going to be harder to beat this year by the feel of it. I actually think that two central midfield pairing is quite interesting and could be quite difficult to play against. I definitely have concerns still about the general quality of the central defenders, though. I quite like Llorente. I've said that to you a number of times, but I don't know if he'll make game week 2. And I think he had some really sloppy performances. He was terrible against us.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying it shouldn't be. I mean, if we had a left back, people are saying they want to see Koch and Struijk in the centre back pairing. And I've seen a lot of. I think it would. I think they actually built up a decent partnership for a little stage last year. And like you say, Llorente was a bit sloppy, and I was someone that's singing high praises for Llorente 6-8 months ago. But Struijk and Koch, to me, seem more focused and build up a better partnership. So perhaps you could see that, but I think it's very close between them all. I think Cooper is still a captain, is still can come in there. I think it'll be Koch and one more is the way we'll be going. He'd
definitely be the first choice in your eyes then. Yeah. I can't believe anyone would pick that ahead of Meslier though. It just doesn't.
No. If we get a clean sheet, Meslier's going to get more points. That's how it is, I think.
Thing is as well, did he not have the worst save percentage last year or something, Meslier? I'm sure
it
I've
was,
got that stat knocking about in the back of my head.
He's like bottom of the league for like expected goals conceded or something.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Andy. It doesn't really, and to be honest, I've only changed that last couple of days looking at it and thinking, subject to win our wild card, the kind of real short period and the slightly longer period, I could punt. It's a differential goalkeeper choice.
I mean, what I would say, I think I'm going to start with Meslier as my only Leeds player. I may have another one on the bench, but I think for me, even if we don't get a clean sheet, he's capable of getting 3 points. So for that reason, I think it's good. And if we do get a clean sheet, say if he gets 1 clean sheet in 7, all of a sudden that's 10 points, I think. So
yeah, he can haul when he gets them. Is the point, absolutely. Sinistera, what's your expectation on him across the season? Is he about to become the man? Because his goal scoring numbers are why he's in at 6.5 if people are wondering. There's plenty of capability there, isn't there?
Oh, such a talent. I'm really excited.
Are we saying right as best position?
Yeah, right for me. Yeah, right winger. I think he's the Raphinha replacement. Dangerous player, like so good on the ball, take on players, trickery, everything. Like for me, exciting. So exciting to watch. So
is that a bit overpriced though? Do you think?
Again, it is. Yeah, I think they got some of the prices wrong. Perhaps not wrong, but it's a shame we can't go from like Kristensen at 4.5, Sinsterra if he was 5.5, 6, Bamford if he was 6.5, 7. It just seems a bit too expensive.
Who would you say in the squad's the most underpriced player?
Ooh, good one. I wouldn't say everyone's underpriced particularly.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I can't think.
Which is really interesting because it feels like the whole game is underpriced. But actually, when I look at yours, I think, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Like even like Kristensen at 5, I get it. Get it, because it would have killed all the other 4.5s, which we're probably not considering anyway. But he's attacking numbers and output, the amount of shots he gets away. I can understand why they've gone with 5.
I think they would have been.
Bamford feels overpriced. Sinistera feels overpriced. Gelhart at 5 would have been arguably a bit more of a, I could push that at 5 million maybe, rather than want to come down to the 4.5. A lot of them feel a bit over to me.
Yeah, I think they would have been Rasmus Fever if he was 4.5. I think it'd have been owned. I think it'd have been owned by a lot of players, and I would have hyped him up so much if he was 4.5.
Since there is an interesting one. I mean, look, Bowen started last season at 6.5, didn't he? And ended up having a 200-point season. So if he does well, there'll definitely be a lot of interest to get to him. But I think it'll be quite easy to get to as well. People might sacrifice one of the 8 million midfielders or something like that. But do you think he has the capability of 20+ attacking returns? Like having a 200-point, well, even 170-point season would be decent at his price.
No, I don't think so.
Man.
So cold and dead, Andy. Thanks, mate. Goodbye.
Conversation over.
Later today, we're going to talk about Gabriel Martinelli, who's 0.5 cheaper.
Yeah. I just touch on Aaronson as well. I mean, a couple of preseason friendlies, he's taken a few set pieces, which is interesting.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a good shout. I mean, Bamford, I presume, would be pen taker if everyone's fit.
Yes, yeah.
Would take him back from Raphinha. We had taken a few before. I mean, with what you've got now, who's pen's game week 1? It'd be a difficult call, wouldn't it?
Again, who's captain? Who's pen? I don't know nothing.
Well, Rodrigo, I guess, if he was on the pitch, would probably be the answer.
Yes, probably. Yeah.
And set piece, you're saying Aronson's on a few, yeah?
He's taken a few corners, in swingers, yeah. Harrison's been on one side and Aronson's been the other.
Yeah. I think if I had to, I can't really make a case because I know little of him to make a case to go for him over Neto, but I don't hate it as a differential way to go. But I think you yourself, Andy, choice between the two sounds like you would go for Neto. So
I would.
That answers it really.
But come wildcard, after our fixtures get bad, no. I mean, that's the thing as well. You want to get in from game week 1 because when you wildcard, then the fixtures turn again. So you don't want them till later.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you think you finish, Matt? Don't say top 2K because you do well to beat that again. I'm talking about your team.
Can I just say as well on the
let's get that overall wank in there, James.
People want to hear me talk about my KDB.
That's only when he puts his robe on, Suj. Sorry, Andy.
People want me to talk about the KDB triple captain, don't they?
No, Andy, fuck off. Man.
No, okay. But I was just going to say that on the night that he scored,
and on latest podcast, we've got Adam Pritchard on Arsenal. We've got Sunbed on Brentford. It's a Leeds pod, mate.
No, but on the night he got 4 goals, Leeds lost to Chelsea, and I was near enough crying. I thought we were down at that stage. So
yeah, you told us that week as well, mate. You got short memory, mate.
Yeah, I think we'll finish 15th this season.
Okay. Do you want to know how many of your fellow correspondents predict you to go down so far?
I would guess 25% of them.
Yeah, you're about there, mate. Which suggests there's a little bit of concern, but not huge concern. I think, shut your dog up. I think.
Hey, Cooper! Shush!
Your dog's called Cooper.
He is, yeah.
It's not called Cock.
No.
What a mistake, mate. I think it'll be more difficult to beat this year, but I do worry a little bit about the goal scoring side of things. And therefore it can be difficult to win games of football. Highest prediction we got for you is 13th.
Wow.
And I think it's difficult to foresee much better than that. I think consolidation is okay this year.
Yeah.
Off the back of last year being far scarier than it should have been. I mean, it really did look like at one point that you were going to go. What's just lastly, Andy? What's the feeling amongst the fan base about Jesse Marsch? Not necessarily yours, but what do you get from the feeling from the fellow fans at the moment? Because we know it was such a difficult gig to come in after Bielsa.
Yeah, I mean, he's kept us up. I don't think it's complete. Jesse Marsch hero status for keeping us up. I think the jury's still out. I think if we start off badly, then the questions will be asked. I don't think people trust him particularly yet.
Is that just partly because he's not Bielsa?
No, I think it's concerning fans
he
that
speaks
he keeps
well, doesn't he?
He speaks well, but it's concerning that he's still trying to change things, like with formation, and doesn't really settle on things particularly. It's always trying to tinker with little things here and there, but like we want him as a fan base to just like settle on this.
It's understandable if he keeps getting hit with injuries and suspensions, and that I think it's very hard to judge him on the end of last season when you're firefighting and dealing with problems and what have you. Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the fans are behind him if they're not completely convinced. They're still behind him, right? Everyone's still getting behind him. We've talked. I
don't think majority. I don't think everyone. I see enough on my timeline that I can't watch this football and stuff. That there was something very romantic for Leeds fans about Bielsa, and even they get slapped now and again, but it was fun. And there is a danger that it flips so far the other way that you get real restlessness amongst that fan base. What you don't want as a home crowd, Elland Road can be a real tough place to go. It can be a proper atmosphere. But if it goes the opposite way, it becomes a very easy place to play.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I think you have to be careful of that.
It's a big contrast, isn't it, from Bielsa to anyone particular. So
it was going to be, and again, it's not particularly a criticism of him. It was going to be really difficult for whoever came in. And honestly, I think that could have been Guardiola, Klopp, Tuchel, whomever could have come in and would have had difficulty finding acceptance. I think pressure, because your fixture list is good, I think there is pressure if you start badly. But I don't think you will, actually. I think you'll start okay.
I hope so.
Andy, pleasure. Thank you so much. Where can everyone follow you on the Bird app, my friend?
It's FPL_tactician.
Well done, mate.
Fantastic. And thank you again for joining us, giving us the insight into Leeds. We'll be keeping a keen eye on it as it all develops over the season. James, you like to rack up the miles, so I'm assuming that we're not staying in and around the north of England with the next Correspondence Week episode.
No, we're heading south.
Lovely.
South London specifically. Arsenal and here we go again. Arsenal and Adam Pritchard.
Should I bother turning up for that one?
Are they bother?
Should I leave you guys to just, bicker it out?
No, we don't. Adam's a good boy. And Adam's not like Twitter. I mean, you go on Twitter, they beat Chelsea 4-0 at the weekend. I mean, Arsenal have already won the Premier League from the way the timeline looks sometimes, right? So, but Adam's got his brain switched on. Maybe Adam does think they're going to win the league. I don't know. But he's next on Correspondent Week.
Fantastic. So do stay tuned for that. Wherever you're listening to the pod, subscribe, notification bell, and all of that other jazz. And if you're interested in joining our Patreon community, then head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. We'll welcome you with open arms. Other than that, I hope you've enjoyed the first few episodes of Correspondent Week, and we'll be back at you with more. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, Andy. Be nice to each other, everyone. Cue music, please, man. Ciao.